Hi guys, Skypoint here. The Traitor Titan Legions are now in game, so of course it's time that we take a full look at all of their cards. As usual, I'm going to start off with the Warlords. We're going to take a look at their abilities, their sound clips, and then also their weapons, and then run through all the faction cards from cheapest to most expensive. Alright, let's start with the rare Warlord, the one which will be the easiest to get. Ironically, Hatred Unbound. So Hatred Unbound is a Reaver Titan from Legio Magna, 35 health and 0 attack, and it of course has cannot attack. Alright, looking at its abilities over here, you spend 2 energy and you give +2 to a friendly unit until your next turn. This is actually kind of interesting because it doesn't say, it doesn't specify that it has to just be a troop or like a structure or vehicle. It seems to say any vehicle, sorry, any unit. So I think you can probably apply this to your own weapons, which means that anyone hitting your weapons will take a little bit of damage or potentially even apply it to yourself. It says to a friendly unit, not to another friendly unit. So that looks pretty handy. Let's take a look at the voice clips from this faction. Alright, let's go with the first one.
Death stalks the cowards.
I like that. Very versatile.
No escape. No mercy.
That is perfect for as you wipe out enemy units.
Great warriors burn bright.
Okay, I really hope that there are some flame weapons or something to use this with.
Fire goes wherever we tread.
Same comment as before. Would be amazing with some kind of flame weapon or maybe a laser.
No prey is neither too small nor too big for us.
This would be perfect in a turn where you wipe out a weak unit and a strong unit both.
Let's see if you can outrun this.
Yep, definitely that for a big hit weapon shot. I like all of these. That is some of the best voice emotes we've seen from any Warlord. Alright, so I like Hatred Unbound. We'll see later on, I guess, what his weapons are. But in the meantime, let's move on to Nuntio Dolores. You might remember this from my reveals video. It's the Epic Warlord, 40 health, no attack, and cannot attack. And it sort of has a cut down version of Mortarian's ability. It can stun a unit as long as it's not a Warlord. Alright, let's look at the voice clips here.
Mine is the gift of brass and blood.
It's slow, very slow, very low energy. I don't know.
Here comes the butcher of Bifex. Not bad. No glory in felling a feeble enemy.
Guess you use that when he wipes out one of your weak units.
The blood god smiles today.
Definitely for wiping out, like doing a full board clear on the enemy.
Your sorrow delights me, vermin.
Okay, that is when you do something unexpected.
I am a being of pure metal.
I guess maybe when you heal up or something, I don't know. These some of them are okay. I like the Blood God Smiles today. The rest seem weak compared to the previous Warlord. Actually, you know what? Before we go on, let's take a look at the weapons. So if I went down to look at Hatred Unbound, it comes with... Okay, I don't see the... Okay, I guess it comes with Missile Launcher. That's what it looks like. Deal 1 to 2 damage to all enemies. Are there any other Carapace weapons here? Oh, there are. Right. So for the Reaver Titan, your first option is going to be the Missile Launcher, doing area damage to all enemies. This is... It's a unique card. So I think you play this and... Let me just come back. Yeah, I think this works like the Loyalist Reaver Titan. If you have this as your weapon, you're going to get a unique card which allows you to use this once, spend 2 energy, 1 to 2 damage to everything. Next option is the Volkite Eradicator. Deal 3 damage to a target, and if it's a Titan weapon, structure, or vehicle, an extra 3. That's actually a pretty cool, useful one. I think it's slightly better than the Loyalist version, which is 3 damage, and if the target dies, then you draw a card. Final one is Warp Missile. 5 damage to a random enemy and stun it. This one could probably be the most useful of them all, but you have to be careful that you set up the situation just right. It would probably be most useful against non-Titan Warlords, where you can kill other units and get down to just the Warlord being left on his own, and then hit him, do a ton of damage, and stun him. Alright, next up is going to be the weapons for Nuntio Dolores. So we'll start with the shoulder weapon. So this is actually kind of interesting. I did take a quick look at these earlier. Option 1 is going to be the paired destructors. So the Loyalist version allows you to choose a target and do 1 damage to it twice. And just like the Loyalist version, it's 20 health and 1 energy siege cost. But with these ones, they do more damage, but the target is chosen randomly. I kind of don't like the randomness factor. You have to be very careful or very lucky to get what you want. So I think this is a little bit weaker than the Loyalist version. Next up, we have paired Gatling. So if we take a look at this, so compare this to the Loyalist version again. Let me just pop back again quickly to here. The Loyalist one is the paired... Where is it gone here? Why do I not see that here? It was somewhere around. Let's look for paired. Ah, right, there it is. Paired Mega Bolters. So 1 energy, deal 1 or 2 damage to 2 random enemies. And there we see the Traitor one is always, paired Gatling is always 2 damage, but it's only done to a single enemy. I think it's a little bit weaker than the Loyalist one. I think the Loyalist one can do up to 4 points of damage, but as little as 2. And even if it does 2, that's split across 2 targets. This one always does 2 damage, but it's to 1 random target. I don't know, maybe they are about the same in capability. And the final one is paired launchers. This is just like the Loyalist one, deal 1 damage to all enemies. So that one is pretty much unchanged. Alright, and it's arm weapons. So let's get into arm weapons for both of them. So for Hatred Unbound, the arm weapons are going to be... Melta Cannon is your first option, Reaver weapon. 3 energy siege, deal 5 damage to an enemy and 3 to its adjacent units. That is actually very good, and it doesn't have overload. So this is actually, I think, better than the Loyalist. Let's quickly go back to the Loyalist weapons again. God, I'm cycling around so fast. I think it's slightly better than the Loyalist. Here it is. Sun Fury Annihilator, which has 5 damage to a random enemy and 2 to adjacent units. Its energy cost is a bit lower, but it has overloads. When it attacks, it gets stunned. Whereas, coming back to the Traitor one, where is it gone over here? Melta Cannon. 5 damage to an enemy and 3 to its adjacent, 3 siege, 3 energy siege, costs a bit more, but it has no overload. Oh, look at that, there's actually 2 Melta Cannons, so your Reaver Titan can load up on 2 of these. That's interesting. Hang on, let me actually filter for Reaver weapons. Oops. Misspelled it. There we go. And I guess not, that's not working. That's unfortunate. Alright, let's head back down to the weapons and take a look. What else do we have here? So, we saw the Melta Cannons. Is a Chain Fist a Reaver weapon? Yep, here's the melee weapon for the Reaver Titan, Chain Fist. It has Shutdown, Cleave 2, and cannot attack. So, it attacks, it does 2 damage to its target and 2 damage to neighboring targets, and then you remove attacks. That is actually pretty good. A nice amount of area damage is a respectable weapon. I guess you could probably actually pair that up with Hatred Unbound's own ability, which is give +2 to a friendly unit. If you play that on the Chain Fist, you do 4 damage +2 to neighboring, so that's 8 points of damage in total, which is strong. Any other Reaver weapons we see here? It looks like Laser Blaster and Plasma Annihilator. Nope, that's for the Imperator. That's for the Warlord. Ah, here's a Reaver weapon. The Laser Blaster. Siege, 2 energy cost, deal 2 damage to a random enemy 3 times. That is not bad, I guess. It's decent. I think actually that's very similar to the Loyalist Laser Blaster, which I don't know why the Loyalist cards are so hard to go through now. Yeah, 2 damage to a random enemy 3 times. It's identical to the Loyalist weapon. Alright, so I think that is about it. There should be a legendary weapon for them as well. I just don't see it here. Looks like the Warlord. Okay, well, you know, we'll come through all the weapons later, I guess. And next up is for the Warlord Titan. So a couple of things. So let's run through from the top. So I'm pretty certain Hellstorm is for the Imperator. Yeah. Inferno is for the Imperator. Melta Cannon we saw. Plasma Annihilator was for the Imperator. And that leaves Quake Cannons. This is a legendary weapon for the Warlord. Has shutdown. It cannot attack to deal 6 damage to an enemy. Stun the target and adjacent units. Oh man. Area stun. That is powerful. This card is really, really good. That Quake Cannon is going to mess up people badly. I like this. Next up, the Power Fist. Very similar to the Loyalist Power Fist. 3 attack and overload. So nothing special there. Very handy, very useful weapon. I'm kind of sad I don't have this for my Loyalist Titan yet. Macro Gatling. We saw this before. It's been nerfed already for the Loyalists, and the Traitors are getting that same version. Deal 2 to 3 damage to all enemy for 3 siege. Pretty downright respectable. We saw the paired destructors, saw that, and Ariok Claw. This is also for the Warlord, works exactly the same as the Loyalist version. 4 attack, it doesn't get stunned, but you have to remove attack in order to use it. And lastly, for my reveals video, we saw the Volkite Destructor. Now this is really optimized for fighting against other Titans. It does, it hits a random target, but if it's a Titan weapon or vehicle or structure, it does a whopping 9 points of damage in total. I just don't like the hitting random targets. You really have to often luck out to get the maximum effect out of it, so I don't like it. It works. When it works, it's going to be devastating, but making sure you hit something appropriate is going to be hard. So far for the Warlord Titan, I think that Quake Cannon and one of the melee weapons is probably the way to go. Alright, and lastly, we see the Imperator Titan, Dias Irae. So, 40 health, legendary Warlord. Starts with Inferno Gun, Carapace Blasters, Plasma Annihilator, and Hellstorm Cannon. Wow, okay, lots of stuff there, okay. We'll go through all of its weapons in a moment. Its special ability, give shield to 2 random friendly units for 2 energy. That is actually very, very good. Probably one of the best Titan abilities we've seen. Like, we've seen, I think the Loyalist Warlord would give shield to 1 unit. This one gives it to 2. So, in fact, I think the Loyalist Warlord was changed a little. So, Sabris Regnum, spend 2 energy. Okay, you choose who gets a shield. Right, that's what it is. Whereas with the Traitor one, you don't get to choose, but for 2 energy, 2 units get a shield. Let's check its voice lines.
Gaze upon us, and be sure death comes for you.
I like that. That's great to open up the battle with.
Soon, nothing will remain of you.
You can say that while you're loading up your guns.
Well done. You just became a priority target.
That's pretty versatile.
You can't hurt us.
You can use that whenever your shields get hit.
Where we walk, the Imperium ends.
Again, that's sort of after a board clear of Loyalist forces.
Unlimited firepower.
Okay, I'm sure there'll be cards which load siege abilities. You can use this for that. Alright, let's go down to look at its weapons. So we start with the Carapace Blasters. What are these? Shut down, it cannot attack, 35 health. It's a siege weapon, deal 2 damage to a random enemy 3 times. Okay, that is the same effect as Laser Blaster. Deal 2 damage, siege 2, deal 2 damage to a random enemy 3 times. Nothing special there. What's the Inferno gun? Oh, this is good. Look at that. Its siege cost is 1, but once you fire it, you do 2 damage to an enemy and then area damage to everything else. That is great. I like that. What else do we have? It said it has the Hellstorm Cannon. 3 energy, deal 2 to 4 damage to all enemies. So this is like the pre-nerf version of the macro Gatling. But this has incredible synergy with the Inferno gun. Like, you can pull off a fairly reliable board clear by using those two together. I like that. That is very, very powerful. And unlike the Loyalist one, you see here, it's 2 to 4 to all enemies. And then, sorry, let me take a look at the other weapon it has, the Plasma Annihilator. Woohoo! Look at this thing. Okay, it has overload, so it gets stunned after firing. Costs a whopping 4 energy to trigger its siege, but deal 12 damage to an enemy and its adjacent units. That is 36 damage, and it has Ordnance 4 on top. So if you hit a Titan weapon, vehicle, or structure, that is 16 damage. So this is the most devastating weapon we've seen, because with every shot you can deal up to a total of 40, I want to say 16 times 3 is, yeah, it's, God, I should be able to do this in my head. I know it's 32 plus, yeah, it's 48 points of damage. Wow. That is lethal. Okay, I guess the Plasma Annihilator will be the priority target to destroy. My God, look at that thing. Powerful. Alright, so now we've seen all the weapons. Let's go on to the cards. I'm really excited about the cards. I mean, they sort of have a neat mechanic. I'll talk through that in a moment. So first off, Accelerated Autoloader. So load the siege ability of a friendly unit. So yeah, straight away, 1 cost of energy to load either the Quake Cannon or the Plasma Annihilator, and then you can fire it that same turn. If for that alone, the Accelerated Autoloader is a must-have in any of the decks which use the legendary weapons, or frankly, all of the Chaos Titan weapons are powerful, so Accelerated Autoloader is very, very important. What else does it have? If it is Awakened, now this is the interesting part, give it shield. So obviously loading a gun and shielding it is powerful in its own right, but the drawback is it only has that full effect on Awakened units, and that means they have a 50% chance of acting on their own at the start of the turn. So they become much more powerful, but they often become more powerful, but they are less reliable. So it's this weird trade-off you have. So it's very, very interesting to see this mechanic. There's lots of cards which interact in fun ways with this. Let's take a look at that. Next is a tactic. It's a Blood Hungry. It's an epic tactic. Give +2 and Terror to a friendly vehicle or Titan weapon until your next turn. So lots of powerful vehicles which will benefit from this, but you can even give it to one of your melee weapons, which stops your melee weapon taking damage when hitting a lot of targets. So, powerful ability. I think it's a good idea to have 2 of those in your deck. Okay, next is the first unit, the first vehicle. 1 energy vehicle. Now, there's not actually that many of those. Very, very good stats for 1 energy. It has 2 attack and 3 health, but of course it has that overload malice, so whenever it attacks, it then gets stunned. But the stats are really good for 1 energy. Like, honestly, a unit like with stats like this would be worth paying definitely 2. I mean, it would be good value at 2 energy. Although overload does set it back a little, but usually they're not going to survive more than 1 turn. I like this. Bitter Soul. Deal 1 damage to all units. That does mean it hits your units as well. Give +1 to friendly awakened units this turn. I'm not so convinced by this one. There's some circumstances under which it will be useful, but the penalty of 1 damage to all of your units as well, I think kind of upsets that. Unless you have a whole load of awakened units which can actually attack themselves. I don't know, I don't like this card. Captured Outpost, this was from my reveals video, is basically like being able to play Arvis Lighter every turn. Arvis Lighter is such a popular card because it's a great card, so being able to play it repeatedly is a great action, so I think Captured Outpost is good. Creeping Madness, legendary tactic. Give +1 and awaken to a friendly unit, return this card to your deck, and then draw a card. I definitely like that. Awakening your weapons as a Titan gives you the risk that they'll act when you don't want them to, but they do gain attack value permanently from this, and so it might be worth it because the enemy will no longer just be able to hit your units pretty freely. So I like Creeping Madness a lot. Great Dunor. Okay, this is a knight. It has overload, it has poor stats, but it has first strike. So between everything, I think it's worth it. It looks pretty decent. You throw it on the board, the enemy has to hit it, otherwise it's going to do a fair bit of damage repeatedly with its first strike. Not the greatest unit, it dies very easily, but it's handy and can force the enemy to react. Not bad. Infernal Allegiance. It has a reflection, so you can play it repeatedly in a turn for 2 energy, give shield and awaken to a friendly vehicle or Titan weapon. Not sure if the shield is worth the cost of giving awakened. If you're building a deck around the awakened mechanic, this will definitely be important, I will say that. So let's leave that one there. If awakened will be important for you. Unbridled Hatred. Deal 2 damage to a random effect. Repeat this effect for every friendly awakened unit. Okay, now I see this. Let's say you're in a 10 energy turn. You use Infernal Allegiance. You can give 4 of your units awakened, and then play Unbridled Hatred to finish it off by doing a total of 10 damage with that. 2 damage repeated 5 times. In total 5 times. So, well, 2 damage applied 5 times. And if you already had like 1 or 2 awakened units, maybe even more. But there's definitely synergy with the awakening over there. Veteran Principles. This is sort of the opposite. It removes awakened. I actually love how thematic this is, because awakening sort of shows like demons starting to possess the Titan, but with the Veteran Princeps card you basically have an experienced Titan commander who is so good at his job that he can basically wrest control of his Titan away from the demons who are trying to control it. So I love the effect of I love the theme of this card, and I think being able to remove awakened is also as useful as being able to apply awakened and getting those buffs. So I really like the card. And also 2 energy for heal 3 is not bad. Alright, another legendary, Bane Lash. Shield. When a friendly unit receives awakened, gain a mark of chaos. So this is a knight which will ultimately, I guess, either become very powerful or turn into a demon. But even without any of its text, for its value, it's very good. Above average stats, like 3 energy is worth it for 3 attack and 3 health, and this guy has 4 health. But on top of that, it brings shield, which allows it to stick around on the board longer, hopefully pick up some of these buffs and so on. So I think this is a very good card. Corrupted Maniple. Give a Mark of Chaos and Awakened to your vehicles. This is all your vehicles in play get a Mark of Chaos and Awakened. This is probably going to be most useful for the Reaver Titans because they have more space on the board to play vehicles. And so I think for a Reaver Titan deck, Corrupted Maniple would actually end up being important to have. Next up, Experimental Vessel. Heal 3 and remove stun from a friendly unit. That's going to be important. A lot of your weapons are going to be stunned. And if it is awakened, give it ward until your next turn. So honestly, healing 3 and removing stun is already an excellent effect. I don't think you'll be able to avoid having things which are awakened on the board as the Chaos Titans, so being able to give them ward and protect them from targeted abilities is also very good, so I like the card. Next up, Machine Rage, an epic one. Give Bloodthirst and Awakened to a friendly Titan weapon. So Bloodthirst is yay. Awakened is kind of, do I really want it? I don't know, like... Again, in late game, it can be very, very powerful. Probably the best use for Machine Rage would be if you have the Legendary Warlord. It's a 10 energy turn. They felt comfortable not hitting your Plasma Annihilator because it wasn't loaded. So you play that card. Then for 3 energy, for 4 energy, you put it into Siege. Oh wait, no, 3 plus 4 plus 4 is more than 10. Okay, but so you could use it to load weapons. I don't know. It just feels that there might be other stuff in the deck which could be better. You really need to be choosy, I think, about when you awaken weapons, because you get one good, reliable turn out of them, and after that, they can mess you up. Maccabeus Castigator. So, average stats, but it brings Cleave 2. Handy. I'm going to just say this is a sort of a slightly below average card compared to what we've seen. It's not that it's terrible, it's just there's a bunch of other better stuff for 3 energy. Okay, what else do we have? Malanax Atropos. Okay, now here's a good example of what's better for 3 energy. Rally, deal 2 damage and extra damage if it's a Titan weapon, structure, or vehicle. This is a good targeted hit. You want to put it on the board more for the rally effect than its own stats. That's just cherry on top. Portent of Doom. Stun all enemy troops. Oh, this is great. You will use this so that you get a turn to either load or fire your weapons. So absolute Portent of Doom is great. Seeker's Grave is up next. So what do we have here? It is going to the vehicle above average stats. That's not bad. 4 attack for 3 energy. It has overload, and if you have a awakened unit, it gains frontline. Honestly, a frontline unit at 3 energy with just 3 health is not the greatest thing in the world, so I don't like this. It's also conditional to get its rally effect. You have to have an awakened unit. So I think this is one of the weaker cards we've seen. Unholy Vigor. Give Shield, Survivor 2, and Awakened to a friendly vehicle or Titan weapon. Survivor 2 on a Titan weapon could be a very handy bonus. Shield is good. Awakened is a little bit of a penalty, so I don't like this. Audax Warhound. Oh my god, this thing is so good! Look at this. Okay, its stats are already above average for its cost. It has Overload, which is boo, but its Resolution effect is one of the best anti-stealth cards we've seen. Every turn while this is on the board, it will deal 2 damage to all enemies that are stealthed. So you can reliably use this to wipe out a bunch of annoying 2 health stealth units. And at least do some more damage. Like you drop this guy in 1 turn and do 2 damage to a stealth unit, and next turn you can start to use some of your area effect weapons to finish off the stealth unit. So Audax Warhound, no matter which warlord you're playing as, I think you need the Audax Warhound. Direct Measures. Deal 2 damage to all enemies. Ordnance 2. Okay, yeah, so there's another one. Audax Warhound plus Direct Measures will deal a total of 4 damage to stealth troops. Assuming they're not vehicles, in which case take a bit more. 4 damage to all stealth troops. Yeah, 8 energy, and you deal 4 damage to all stealth troops. So, handy combos. Heedless Charge. Deal 3 damage to an enemy and stun adjacent troops. This is really good as well. It's also kind of anti-stealth, because if you damage the unit beside the stealth unit, you're going to stun the stealth unit and it can't act in the next turn while you hopefully get things back together. I do really, really like Heedless Charge. I think it's a very strong card. Impregnable Barrier. Give shield to all your units. Oh yeah, that's handy. Definitely very handy. I think it's a good card. Possessed Warhound. Slightly above average stats, but it has Awakened. I think overall that makes it weak. The Awakened keyword is not worth the slightly higher than average health which this guy has. So I think you'll probably only see him on event matches. Another legendary, Titanica Infernus. Your Warlord gains Resolution. Give +1 and Awaken to a random friendly Titan weapon. Theoretically, over the course of a match, a weapon could become very powerful with this, but you may not be able to do what you want to with the weapon because of Awakened. I think it's it's a very high risk legendary, and because of that, I think it's one of the weaker legendaries we've seen of late. It's high risk, medium reward. Like the game would have to, when your Titan has like 4 weapons, the odds of any one weapon getting strong enough to be truly like annoying are kind of low. I don't really like this card that much. There's going to be times when this will absolutely wreck someone, but I think it's going to be a disappointment more often than it helps. Maybe if it had draw a card, like when you put it in play, that could offset it a little, but right now for 4 energy, that is just a lot. Alright, let's keep going in here. Oh, look at that. Someone is trying to challenge me, but I'm making this video. Next up is an epic Warhound. 4 energy, above average stats, has overload. But when a friendly unit receives Awaken, deal 2 damage to a random enemy. Now this has synergy with the previous card, definitely, because if this card is already in effect, at the end of your turn, this guy will at the end of the turn where he hits the board, this guy is going to deal 2 damage to a random enemy immediately, and it's going to force the enemy to act to take him out. He doesn't even have to attack and use his overload. Do I even want to pronounce this? Zotlelichi, I guess, maybe? A knight, 4 energy, 3 attack, 5 health, so just very average stats. It does have front line, and seeing 5 energy on a front line is good. But what makes it even better is it has this energy ability, deal 3 damage with Ordnance 2. That will set off its overload, but it means it's not going to take damage to itself while damaging the enemy. So it's okay. It's just the stats are very, very average. It's probably more worth it as a front line than anything else. So to protect your weapons that little bit. Ancient of Death. Draw cards until you have 5 in hand. Not sure how I feel about this. It depends on how quickly the Chaos faction is going to run out of cards. Usually with Titan factions, running out of cards isn't a big deal, isn't that common, because you are going to be using energy on your weapon abilities a lot of the time. So I kind of feel that this is not needed. Plus, you're going to draw cards and then have very little energy left, so you're at high risk of a dead turn after this. I don't like the card. Gatekeeper. This is actually not bad. 5 energy for a 7 health frontline unit. Has overload, but you probably won't be attacking with this unit except out of desperation or hitting other Titan weapons. I think it's actually a pretty good one. Mostly for a 5 cost frontline unit with 7 health. That is pretty decent. And 4 attack means whoever hits it is getting hit hard in return. Ominous Reaver. Okay, so this has Awaken straight off the bat, has Terror, and whenever it kills something, it gains a Mark of Chaos. The tricky part is, what's it going to kill? Very little health, so if it attacks the wrong target, it's going to get killed quite quickly. So because of that, and you can't control who it hits because of Awakened, I kind of put this as a not so good card. It costs quite a fair bit. Very high chance that it's going to screw up and hit the wrong thing and die on its own. Tenebris Fidelis. I love the art on this thing. 5 energy, slightly above average stats, has overload, but a great rage ability. So I actually kind of like this card. It's slightly above average. Curse of Iron. Ooh, this is good. 6 energy, average stats, below average attack, above average health, but deal 2 damage to all enemies. Is fantastic for 3 energy. So, and with Ordnance 2, it's going to hit Titan weapons even harder. Curse of Iron, definitely very good. Between these 2 cards, I know Curse of Iron costs a little bit more, Curse of Iron is a lot better than Tenebris Fidelis. Day of Wrath. Remove stun and give Titan Survivor 2 to your Warlord and Titan weapons. Definitely good. It'll probably give you, on average, enough to fire off one Titan weapon, but that may be critical and enough for what you need. Hand of Ruin. 6 energy, 7 attack, 6 health. Ward and Terror is great. Awakened is not, although now with 7 attack and Terror, there's relatively few things which it will attack which are wrong. So it's a bit it's better than the Ominous Reaper was. And for 1 cost more, I would definitely go with Hand of Ruin instead. Also has Ward, so it's hard to kill. Iron Hunter. This one's a legendary Warhound. Shield. When an enemy dies, refill 2 of your own energy. Oh, that's great. I like that. Honestly, for its cost, its stats are worth it alone, as well as the shield and the passive ability. Iron Hunter is really strong. Above average stats, comes with shield, when enemies die, gives you energy, and it has no awakened, even better. Denola, Possessed Titan, Awakened, and Flank. Not so bad, actually, because you want this guy for its flank ability, which won't be affected by Awakened. Awakened only happens at the beginning of the turn. So you put it into play, you hit and destroy something tough. Honestly, after it scored its first hit, it probably would be low on health, and the enemy is going to prioritize it for destruction, being a high attack, low health unit. And so it won't get a chance for Awakened to mess you up. And if the enemy doesn't destroy it, I mean, whatever it chooses to attack is just a nice little bonus. So I actually like Denola. It's one of the first Awakened units I think is useful. Reaper's Tally. Destroy 2 random enemy troops. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Okay, this is going to be really good. In like, imagine if you're in late game and you haven't destroyed the enemy Titan's weapons, and he's got space for 2 troops, and he's filled them up with 2 powerful troops. Reaper's Tally wipes them out. So, I think this could be very handy. Or in a situation against a regular Warlord, you've been doing a good job at keeping his board under control, but now he has some powerful stealth units there. Reaper's Tally, boom, boom. Hopefully wipe it out. A little bit unreliable because of random targeting, but I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people out there whose day gets ruined by Reaper's Tally. Bloodwine. Look at that artwork. That's amazing. Okay, let's see. Does the troop hold up to it? 9 attack, 11 health, so above average stats. Whenever it gets awakened, it becomes really strong. So that will probably give you 1 good attack with awakened before you don't know who it's going to hit. I don't know. I don't think it gets enough out of awakening to offset the problem of being awakened, so I don't like Bloodwild. Lupercal Maniple. Okay, look at this. Oh my god. 10 energy for 2 of these guys? Oh yeah. The only downside is they don't do anything in their turn except hit the board, and in a lot of cases, by 10 energy, the match is in the critical stages, and just adding 2 units on the board probably won't make a big difference. But if the Chaos Titan matches turn out to be long, drawn-out slugfest, then perhaps this is something which would actually fit well in decks. Without playing a lot of matches yet, I can't tell how long they tend to go, and whether just dropping 2 fat bodies at 10 energy is enough to be critical in the game or not. And then our penultimate card we're going to look at is the Path of Iron. Load the siege ability of all friendly units. When a troop dies, reduce this card's cost by 1. So that is interesting. Theoretically, it would be most devastating on the Imperator or the Warlord Titan, which have lots of weapons with siege. But the problem they have is they don't really have much room to play troops. So trying to get enough troops to die to use this card, it may be difficult. This is probably going to end up being most useful for the Reaver Titan, which is going to have a more troop-focused deck. And so there's more opportunities to get Path of Iron early in the game and sit there with troops dying until you're ready to go. Because if you manage to pull it off, let's say the cost drops to like 4 energy or something like that, and you've got 2 melta cannons, then boom, that's a lot of damage you're throwing out at once. I was kind of surprised there's no legendary weapon for the Reaver. Hang on, let me quickly toggle back there and take a look, but... Oh, the Reaver's legendary is the Chained Fist, I see. Got it. Alright, never mind then. Melee weapon. That makes sense for Chaos, so... Alright, and I think that brings us to the end of all of the cards. Oh yeah, the one left to look at is their counterattack. Deal 1 damage to a random enemy. That is one of the weakest counterattacks we've seen in the game. And the Imperial counterattack is going to let them start loading up their weapons sooner in Titan versus Titan battles. So that could get problematic. Alright, well, that's all the cards we've gone through. Looking through the Warlords, I mean, personally, I don't like Nuntio Dolores already. I'm kind of excited about the Reaver Titan over here, but the Legendary looks exceptionally good. It's very strong weapons, not so random. And yeah, has extremely strong weapons of good ability. I think the Chaos Legendary Warlord is better than the Imperial Titan Legendary Warlord, but the Chaos Reaver is better, and Nuntio Dolores I feel is weaker than the Imperial Warlord. So better Legendary, better Rare, weaker Epic. Alright, that's all for this video. I'm going to be trying to hit up the event soon and trying out these Chaos Titans in battle. I'm curious to see what you guys think of them. Let me know in the comments, and as always, I'll see you on the battlefield. Thanks for watching this video, everyone, and bye.